All right. Oh, I can't even see your thing. What's what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry, I had to start my recording. I wasn't recording. So what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. It's been a struggle.
Ooh, that was rough.
We were not prepared for that. I still can't even see your camera.
Yeah, I just realized that.
I was like, I don't even see a point. We're here though, so this is what happens when you get amateur podcast hour, So Brandon Stoll on the other side, Stephen Priest Jr. here with you guys. Thanks for tuning in on this lovely, I was gonna say Tuesday, but it's a Monday, so we're switching things up a little bit on you guys. Obviously the Nuggets play tonight, so we'll preview tonight's game, but we didn't get a chance to react to game 2, which was on Saturday? What day are we on?
Yeah, Saturday.
So Saturday, right? No.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes. 2 days
Saturday.
later.
The game 2 win. Denver Nuggets is struggling. A huge win. I'll be honest with you. I did not think that was going to happen. I've been telling people on Twitter, don't be surprised if they get swept here, especially after how game 1 went. But the Nuggets come back. They really dominated that game through and through. But of course, in true Nuggets fashion, they can never blow anybody out. They have to make it interesting somehow.
Well, I don't think it's easy to blow out the Clippers either, though.
No, I don't think you ever get to blow out the Clippers unless Kawhi's resting or Paul George is resting. But regardless, they get it done off of a huge defensive performance from Jeremy Grant, from Gary Harris. I mean, those guys were the MVPs of the game right there, especially Gary Harris. I mean, how many times has Gary Harris saved the Nuggets in this postseason?
I think you officially owe a huge apology to Gary Harris.
Me?
Yes, you. No. No.
Hold on. Do we need to go back in the record books here? You slandered Gary as well. Don't point this out.
No, I said he was extremely valuable though because of his defense. It doesn't matter if he can't shoot.
I never said he wasn't valuable. I just said he's painful to watch on offense, which is true. I mean, but he did make his first shot. He started the game. He hit the first shot of the game.
Yeah, he was 4 for 7 from 3. He hit the first shot of the game, which was a 3, and he hit the last 3, which were 3s.
And look at that, 13 points, right at his average, baby. He's coming in right where you want to be. You know what? If Gary can do that, though, I'm fine.
Right.
I will take that 100%. But I mean, no, in plus 13. Look, you can't. The 13 is his number. You might as well just change it to 13. What is he? 14? Just change it to 13, Gary. 13 points plus 13 on the night.
Give us 14 then. Try not to be too greedy here,
but
not
to be greedy. Yeah, don't be greedy because Gary could go out and just as easily put up a 2 for 9 performance and have 4 points. Right. So, but no, I mean he's really saved the Nuggets so many times. I mean, from making the defensive play to win the series. Last series versus Utah, I don't think they win Game 6 if he's not back versus Utah. Obviously, Game 1 it didn't matter, but I mean, he and Jeremy Grant, especially Jeremy Grant. I know Jeremy Grant struggled in that game. He finished 1 for 9 with 5 points. But I think part of that is because he was going balls to the wall to try and guard Kawhi.
Right.
And he did so good. Now, granted, the Nuggets played great team defense. Every time Kawhi got in the lane, it was like, Kawhi was being attacked. It was like Kawhi was a virus and all the white blood cells came and attacked someone in the virus in the body. There were so many white jerseys surrounding Kawhi Leonard, and he just didn't want to pass it. And I think that's going to be a huge change, that if they're going to collapse on him, he's going to kick it out. It also helped, too, that the Clippers missed a lot of shots, open shots. But overall, huge game. Obviously, things got going with Jokic and Murray early on. Jamal had 20 points in the first half. Jokic had 24, and then they were just non-existent in the second half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall though, 110-101. You take the W as you can get it. The Nuggets tied up 1-1. What was your overall impressions of Game 2?
Well, remember in our last podcast reacting to Game 1, I said Marcus Morris will not shoot 7 of 10 again and 4 or 5 from 3. Patrick Beverley will not shoot 2 for 3 from 3 again. Kawhi Leonard will not go 12 of 16. I thought maybe 9 of 16, 8 of 16, something like that.
Yeah.
But he will not go 12 of 16. And look at what happened. Game 2, Kawhi Leonard, 4 of 17. That's more of credit to Denver's defense. Marcus Morris was back to being Marcus Morris. 3 of 9, 2 of 5 shooting from 3, 11 points. That's what he's going to give you most of the time. Patrick Beverley, 1 of 2 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3. He got in foul trouble. Credit to Nuggets for getting him in foul trouble. Montrezl Harrell was only 3 of 6, only had 10 points, was 4 of 8 from the free throw line. So Lou Williams was 6 of 16. So, yeah, they're not going to shoot this bad. Kawhi Leonard's not going to be 4 of 17 next game. But he's also not going to be right. But he's not going to be 12 of 16 either. No. So I think
maybe,
maybe he'll have one more of those games. But again, the Clippers shot exceptionally well in Game 1. In Game 2, they shot exceptionally bad. Right. So they're going to be more somewhere in the middle. Well, the Nuggets really did have control of the whole entire game, right? I mean, early in the fourth they lost the lead, but for most of the game, they dominated the Clippers. So if it evens out, I think again, like I've said, you know, I picked before the playoffs started. I picked the Nuggets to beat the Clippers here in round 2. Once I saw them have to come back from 3-1 and beat the Jazz, and they were just exhausted. In my mind, there was no way they were going to beat the Clippers, but I thought they could force 6 or 7. And this is why, because the Clippers, I get on paper, they're a great team. They should be finals favorites, all of that, right?
Yep.
But in the regular season, even when things were normal in the regular season, they would sit out a lot of guys. Even when they played all together, they weren't consistent. They didn't have that chemistry. And you're seeing it in the playoffs too. We saw it against Dallas. They're just not consistent. They'll bring the defensive consistency, that the dog in them, right? They'll never go away. They'll always, you know, this is why Denver really couldn't blow them out, because the Clippers, they're a team that you're never really going to be able to blow them out. Because they can play any style. And they'll always fight. They'll always kick and scream. They won't just fold and go away like the Nuggets did in Game 1. So that makes it obviously extremely tough. But again, they're not a very good shooting team. They really aren't. They don't have guys that are just going to kill you from 3. Lou Williams can kill you scoring-wise, but he's not going to kill you from 3 every time. I mean, he was 0 for 6, and in Game 1 he was what?
They've done well on him. He's only had 23 points in 2 games. I've been really surprised with. I think part of it is he's missing shots, but I mean, for the most part, for the Nuggets, if you would have told me in 2 games Lou Williams would only have 23 total points, I'd be like, that's a win. That's a huge, because you think that'd be closer to 40 points.
Right.
45 points.
When he hasn't shot the ball well, like you said, he's 0 for 8 from the 3 in this series. In both games 1 and 2 combined, he's 0 for 8. So, but again, other than him, offensively, you have to worry about Paul George, who hasn't been very consistent in the playoffs, and Kawhi Leonard, who's been really good, and he had a really bad night. Yeah. But other than that, if Morris isn't going nuts on you, and if Pat Bev doesn't give you a couple threes, they don't have guys who can shoot.
No, they don't have shooters. They just have guys that can score.
Right, and so what have we talked about the Nuggets? Shooters kill them. Well, the Clippers don't have that. So this matchup with Denver, and like I said in the last podcast, I think they can force 6 or 7 games in the series because they have a good matchup. This is a bad matchup for the Clippers. If you were the Clippers, I'm sure the Clippers were so happy when Utah was up 3-1. Because Denver's that's a bad matchup. I think Gobert would have hurt them a lot. But offensively, you know, Gobert is limited. With Jokic, and I'll get to Jokic because I'm still frustrated with Jokic. But overall, they don't have anyone who can guard Jokic. They really don't. I mean, Zubac did well on him in Game 1. But in Game 2, Zubac struggled, and he got into a little bit of foul trouble. But they don't have anyone that can guard Jokic. And Jamal has also a mismatch. And I didn't think he would. I thought they would be able to really cover Jamal really well. But he does have a mismatch. I mean, with Kawhi's a great defender. And one-on-one, he can at least slow down Jamal. But if Jamal is, and it's an if, but if Jamal is on, like he was through the first half of that game, and even in the fourth quarter, he had a one-on-one with Kawhi, and he smoked him. So it's not impossible for Jamal to have good games, because he did. He had a good game. I did not think we would get that at all. I thought they would do what they essentially did in the fourth quarter to Jamal. I thought they would pretty much do that every game and all the time. I think
you're gonna see that more.
I think we're gonna see that more now, but that's where Jokic comes in. He needs to play better all the time, and when he can't wait, and it's driving me nuts with Jokic because everyone says, "Oh, well, look at his numbers. Oh, he's getting double teamed, right?" But here's my answer to that. He's waiting for the double team. The double team is he gets the ball, and for a few seconds he doesn't have a double team. He's not double teamed. If he just grabs the ball and go, but no, he catches the ball, whether it's in the post or beyond the 3-point line, and he waits for the double team. And I get that in his mind, he's waiting for the double team so he can get to the open guy. But if he doesn't wait for the double team, and if he just goes, especially when he's in the post, he's gonna draw a foul, or he's going to get an easy bucket. Or when he goes, the double team has to get there quicker, and when he's on the move, it's harder for the Clippers to get out to that three-point shooter. So if he goes quicker and then passes it out and understand and knows where his guys are going to be, because we know he knows that. We know he's smart enough. We know he has the IQ to do that. He needs to go quicker. So that's something that I get it. He had 26 and 18. I get it. But he also had 6 turnovers. And a lot of that was because he was waiting for the double teams to come. And the Clippers are a very good defensive team. You can't just wait for the double team to come and expect you to have an easy pass to someone who's wide open. Because a lot of those times he knew where to go, but the help on their double teams, the help on their 3-point shooters was amazing. And so they were able to get there and steal the pass. So you need to go quicker. And that's just something that, maybe that's coaching staff that needs to tell him. That's film that he needs to watch. All of that. And so I think that's one thing to look at tonight, where he needs to be more aggressive faster. He needs to be in the post-game interview, that one of those questions came up was why hold the ball so long? And he said, "Well, I'm not very fast, so I have to be patient."
I have to be. I have no choice but to be patient. That's my only option.
But when he's in the post, he can move, and he has moves where he can get to the rim quickly, and he can get a good shot quickly, and that we're just not seeing that right now.
No, I think you're making great points, and I do agree. And it's specifically when he gets it in the short corner, not on the block. Right. He gets it in the short corner, and he faces up. And it's 3-4 seconds where he's surveying and he's holding, and now the clock's at 6 or 7, right. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? And then he makes his move. But there's times where they run that play where it's a down screen for him or a side screen, and he loops around the free throw line, which the Clippers, which I've noticed, I haven't seen really any team do this to Jokic before. When he's coming to go to that side of the floor, whoever's coming up is hitting him, is checking him. Which is smart. I mean, I don't see many teams do that, if at all, but they're doing it, which is smart of them. And there was a time that he took a knee, I think, from Lou Williams or Pat Bev, and Jokic was like, is anybody going to call this? Jokic just gets completely obliterated sometimes, and the refs just don't respect it.
Well, that's been another thing in this series. Dear Lord, the refs have been awful.
Right. I mean, there's times, and it seems like every game, maybe Jokic just doesn't have the respect of the refs yet, but it seems like there's a few times. I get it. He complains a lot. But there's a lot of times where he's got a really good point. Like, he's getting completely. It's kind of like the LeBron thing. Most of the time, LeBron's actually getting fouled, but they just don't call it because he's so big. But anyways,
he had 2 free throws. Like, that can't happen. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. The part of that's on him for being aggressive, but also part of that too is the refs and the Nuggets too. I think at one point in that game there was The Nuggets had or the Clippers had like 16 free throws, and the Nuggets had 4 or something like that.
Well,
Something
yeah,
like
and
the
they finished the game
scrimmage rule.
29 free throws, and Nuggets only
Yeah.
had 17. And Jamal, man, he got 5 free throws. He got the most of the team, but he was getting obliterated every time he would go to the rim.
And again, part of that is on the team for not being aggressive enough, but there are times too where these guys are just getting hacked and it's not
Yeah.
called. But that's any team. But no, with Jokic, I agree with you. There's times where he just has to be faster. He has to get into his move faster. It's always in the short corner. Whenever he gets it on the block, he seems to be fine. And I'm fine with him taking his time because he's so, for as big as he is, you wouldn't think he'd be so crafty with the ball.
Right.
He just has a knack for like knowing how to contort his body and the ball in ways when double teams or arms are around him to either get a pass off or to get it under you and to shoot a layup. It's incredible watching him, honestly. But no, I agree with you. There's times where he has to speed it up. But I think that's just Jokic. I think that's just what makes him him. He's always going to go at his own pace. Now, part of it's because he can't go at a faster pace, but he's going to go at his own pace, and more likely than not, it gets the job done. So at this point, I think you just got to trust him. Now in the second half, he can't take what we talk 4 shots and only make 1. Same with Jamal. Part of that was they were blitzing Jamal and they were forcing it.
Yeah.
But Jamal too has to be better at recognizing, because once they started to do that, he got really sloppy.
Yeah, his
They
passes
forced him
were not.
into- Yeah, they forced him into a lot of turnovers. You mentioned Jokic had 6 turnovers. I think there was 2. The one that stands out to me that I don't think he should be knocked out for was there was a one where Paul on the screen and roll with him rolled and Jokic slipped it through to him. It was a good pass, and for whatever reason Paul didn't get there. I think it was either he stopped or he hesitated, because it was a
I
good
think I know
roll.
what you're talking about.
It was a good pass. It was late in the game.
Yeah.
And that would have been a layup for Paul.
Yeah.
But he missed it. And Jokic was like, he just put his hands to his face. And when Jokic does, I think he like, dude, come on. Like he was there.
Right.
The other one is when Jokic was on the far base or far short corner and he tried to zip it over to Paul on the opposite 3-point line and it just died out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
That one I think you can put on Jokic. But more likely, like 9 times out of 10, like Jokic makes that pass. So
well, yeah, I mean that's true. Like it's not like that's a horrible pass for anyone. It's like Steph Curry taking a shot from half court. You're like, and if he misses, you're like, well, I mean, bummer.
He usually makes it. it's like how Coach Cal. We had Coach Calipari on our station not too long.
By the way, that was a great
interview. Talking about Jamal. Yeah, he was great. And Jamal, he had to stop practice one day because Jamal took a left-handed hook shot. And he stopped practicing. He was like, "Are you kidding me?" And Jamal's like, "I can make that." And he's like, "That's what Jamal would tell me. I can make these shots." And then you realize, oh my God, he can make these shots, and he makes them more often than not. With Jokic, I mean, you have to take those passes with a grain of salt, because he gets the one in his hand where he palms it with one hand, immediately turns around and rockets it to, I think it was Gary, and it's on target. And you're like, first off, how did you even see that? Second, the touch and the timing. I mean, he's the best quarterback in Denver right now. It's hilarious because he just launches it 40 feet down the court, and you're like, this guy's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's things with this Nugget team that they drive you nuts, because it's like they have to get to the point of complete and utter death. The gun has to be on their head. The bullet has to be ready to fire, and they're like, all right. Here we go.
And if they have the gun, they could just give it. They're like, here.
Yeah. They're like, let me turn it around.
Right.
You're like, you can shoot. Nah, I'm just gonna turn around and give it back to you. The Nuggets just have to play with everything completely against them. And even Shaq said it on the TNT broadcast. He's like, you know what? We've come to realize with this team that they only play their absolute best when they are against the wall. And you just don't. Nobody gets it. Maybe that's a youth mentality. It's just them being young. I don't think it's a coaching thing, because poor Michael Malone, man, they just do not care about.
He's driving them nuts. Or no, they're driving him nuts. Sorry.
I hope the team is paying for Michael Malone's cardiologist visits, because there's 3, maybe 10 times a game where the camera pans to him, and I just love his face, because he's looking in the ceiling and he's like whispering to himself, and I just hope he's saying like, Woosah, remember what the therapist said, just remember, get to your happy place, Michael, get to your happy place. Because I swear to you, he wants to rage. Or the shot of him where it looks like he's praying, but his hands
It's
His
a
head is
meme
just in
now.
his hand.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a meme. But like that is this team, and that's what they do to me too.
Right. Well, yeah.
Like in the
That's
Utah game, people were like, "Oh my god, did you cheer when they won that game?" I was like, "No,
no.
I literally sat in my chair, my heart was beating out of my chest, and I was like heavy breathing. I was hyperventilating.
I was like this.
Like, why does this team do this to me? Once Gary poked it, I was like, yes. And then we're going for the layup, and they gave it to Tori, and I was like, no.
What are you doing?
And then he missed it, and I was like, no. And then there's 4 seconds. I was like, oh my god, that's an eternity. And I counted. I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's Donovan? Where's Donovan?
Right,
And come to
right.
find out, the defender that was on Donovan down there was
It
Mason
was
Plumlee. of all
Mason
people.
Plumlee.
I was like, oh my god, this is my nightmare. And then they got it to Mike Conley, and it just went in slow motion. I was like, he's
Yeah.
gonna make this.
That was 4
And-
seconds long, but that felt like an hour.
Oh, easily. When the ball was in the air, it felt like 70 years.
What's
And I was
funny?
just like, no.
It's funny. I actually got it spoiled to me because I was watching on my computer, right? So I had on the screen. I had Twitter on the screen. Well, I'm
Yep.
watching it online, so I'm a little bit delayed. And not only that, but Vic Lombardi, he's at the stadium watching it he's getting the earlier feeds than anyone else on TV, right? So on Twitter, I look over, and it's before the inbounds because they have to call timeout.
Yeah.
So I'm watching, and it's right before the inbounds, and I look over, and all of a sudden I see Vic's tweet, and it says Nuggets advance, and I'm looking at the screen like, okay. So I'm watching. The steal happens. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what happens. All of a sudden, the missed layup happens, and I'm like, wait, oh my god, was he like in my mind? I'm like, was he wrong? Are they gonna make this? Did he tweet that too early? And so when the 3-point shot went up, I'm like, so it was a whole different type of panic from me because I had thought they advanced. The steal happens. I'm like, okay, we're good. Like, I sat back. I'm like, okay, awesome. And it's just all of a sudden he misses that layup. In my mind, I'm just like, my brain is just bouncing all over the place because I'm like, did he tweet that 4 seconds early? What is
that was my situation because the last few playoff games for the Nuggets, I've been watching off my computer, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I have TweetDeck open, but I have to purposely open a new tab so I don't look at Twitter because I don't want anything spoiled to me. And in that moment, like, it was completely just me in the moment live. It wasn't live, it was delayed, but me just like watching it live unfold. And I don't know what I would have done if Mike Conley would have made that shot. I think I would have just laid on the floor, and it's like that SpongeBob gif where he just pulls the dirt over him and buries himself. I think that's probably what I've done. Just bury me. I just don't want to take it. But this Nuggets team, it never fails. They just have to just make it completely difficult and give everybody that loves them a heart attack. Except for them. And then you have the 2 most even kill stars in the league. Like Jokic is just like, meh. He just shows no emotion, unless he gets hit in the gonads and then he's on the floor writhing in pain.
Did you
And
see
then Jamal? Jamal. I shouldn't say Jamal doesn't show any emotion because he's very fired up. But it's just like these guys are so calm and collected under pressure. It's just like it's crazy.
Did you see the huddle after the game? And Malone was like, "Next time we got a 2-on-1 break, don't pass it to Torrey Craig."
Goodness, great. But honestly,
but
Jamal shouldn't have done that. I mean, I get it. A layup seals it if he makes it.
But in my mind, though, I was like, go for it. But see, in my mind, what I would have wanted, Jamal would just take the shot, draw the foul, because all he had to do was a Euro step. He would have drawn a foul, possibly made it, whatever. Or whoever that was it Conley? Conley would have backed up if Jamal would have kept the ball.
I think it was Royce.
Was it Royce? Whoever it was, they would have just backed up, or they would have fouled him, right? Because either way, they needed to foul.
I mean, you hope they call a foul in that situation. I don't know. I don't know if you get a foul in that situation.
But the thing is, Torrey faded away on that layup because he didn't want to get fouled. If Torrey would have gone up a little bit more straight up and into, but again, whoever that was, they didn't try to foul. They put a hand up, and that's about it. Yeah. So I don't know whoever that was. I don't know what he was really thinking because in my mind, I feel like he should have met Jamal up higher and fouled him.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, it's game 7.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
It's nobody's really thinking. Like, it's just spur of the moment stuff. I mean, obviously hindsight is 2020. We can all say, like, I was thinking too, when they missed that layup and Rudy Gobert got the rebound, the Jazz were in the bonus. I was like, foul him, just slap him, because then he's going to the free throw line. You're sending Rudy Gobert in a game 7 with 3 seconds left at the free throw line. If he makes 2, you shake his hand. More likely than not, he's probably gonna miss it. But I was talking to Zach about it, and he was like, it's so quick. Like, these guys aren't really thinking about it. That's fair. I give
Well,
him
and
that.
that's
But
why I'm okay with going for it. A lot of people were so mad when Jamal passed that to Torrey and Torrey shot the layup. I don't mind going for the kill shot because,
I mean, if he makes it, the game's completely over.
well, how many times have we seen the Nuggets not go for the kill shot, right?
Mhm.
They get fouled or whatever, it turns into a free throw game, and they miss free throws. And all of a sudden, it turns into, like last year with the 4 overtime game with Portland. It came down to a free throw game a lot of times for the Nuggets. They would miss a free throw, and Portland hit a three, and it's just like, I wish you would have gone for a kill shot instead.
Right.
So like those are the things where I'm actually okay with Jamal not peeling out. Because you have a 2-on-1. You could just win it right there. You can guarantee yourself the win. I just wish Jamal would have kept the ball and took it himself. I get the right plays to get a Torrey, but all you have to, in your mind, like just take the shot. Like he made the right play for the first time instead of just taking the ball and saying, I'm going to finish this game, right? And maybe it was because he wasn't shooting the ball well in that game. That's probably what it was. But at that point, it's like, Jamal, you need to take it yourself. Like, you need to take that shot. But
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they got the W. So whatever happened, it ends in a win. So that's all we can hope for.
Right.
I don't know how we got down that loophole of
Yeah, I
going
don't know.
backwards to Game 7, but we digress and we look forward to Game 3 is tonight.
Mm-hmm.
There is some kind of concerning news. Jokic has a sprained wrist. Do we know what wrist it is? Is it his shooting hand? Is it his left hand? I didn't see it. I just saw a sprained wrist.
I don't know if the
we can-
Nuggets
I don't know
actually
if they've released that
gave
info, but
information.
I didn't know he was hurt. I'm assuming it must have happened during practice, because I don't remember anything. The only injury he sustained was getting hit below the belt.
It's his
in the
right
Clippers game.
wrist.
Oh, that's a shooting hand, so that's not ideal at all.
I feel like it might have happened during the game just because he did not shoot the ball well and he didn't shoot it that much. And I was wondering throughout the game, like, why isn't he being aggressive? If his wrist was hurt, that makes sense.
Yeah. But he's questionable for today's game. So, I mean, if he doesn't play, I mean, it's just chalk up the win for the Clippers right now.
I think he plays.
Yeah.
But I'm just
I hope
afraid
so.
that he's not going to be very aggressive, which in that case, you might as well just sit out.
Yeah. So that's kind of the line you toe, which I think you're spot on. I think we can expect a passive Jokic tonight, depending on what his wrist, how it feels. But even so, the kind of feel that I got after this is the Clippers are going to come back. They're going to say, okay, you punched us back.
Yeah.
Now we're going to punch you even harder back.
Right.
Don't expect Kawhi to shoot. What did he shoot? 4 of 17. That's going to even out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting for the Lou Williams game. I just think he's just going to have a game where he's going to go completely ballistic. And he's going to go, 25 points, 30 points. You mentioned Harrell didn't play well, 10 points. They missed a lot of free throws in that game. They only shot 69%. I mean, Kawhi missed 2 in 1 point. He missed 2 back-to-back.
Harrell missed a lot, though.
Harrell missed 4, but he's usually a decent free throw shooter.
Is he?
I think so. I think he's at least in the 70s.
Because I was going to say, if it gets a little dicey, if I'm alone, I might just say, hey, let's hack a Shaq here.
I think he's somewhere in the 70s. I don't think
he shot 66%.
Okay, well,
and right now in the postseason, he's shooting 58.
Okay, well, that's hit and miss then. But he has a nice form, so I mean, it looks good. So I don't know. I think, and you can't expect them to shoot 41% from the field and 28% from 3. Also, the Nuggets shot lights out in the first half, which that's an anomaly. We all know that.
It did even out though, because they finished 45 from the field, 37.5 from 3. They haven't had, and there's a couple of guys that I'm waiting for to kind of just have one of those big games. MPJ is obviously one of them. The other is the team just having one of those shooting nights that they had against the Jazz. They haven't had one of those against the Clippers. And credit the Clippers defense, but the Nuggets are still getting
the first half last game.
Well, yeah, but I'm waiting. Yeah,
full game?
I'm waiting for, but that was still a little bit different. I'm waiting for like even like Jamal, like Jeremy Grant.
I mean, Grant
Michael
shot really well game 1.
Right, Michael Porter. I'm waiting for like Torrey Craig, because like if you look at it, Porter was 1 for 5 from 3. Morris was
Mhm.
1 for 3. Craig was 0 for 2. Murray started off well, but he finished 3 for 8. But that's what I'm talking about with the guys on the bench. I'm waiting for the bench guys to have one of their games,
Mhm.
and not just and specifically from the 3-point line, like Torrey having 2 or 3 threes, Monte hitting a couple, MPJ having one of those nights. Like, I'm just waiting for the bench to have a good game in the playoffs, because they haven't had a good game in the playoffs. So I'm just wait if they could, man, it would be great timing if they could have it tonight. Like,
Yeah.
if they pick any night to have it, tonight would be the night. Because if you can go up 2-1 on the Clippers, man,
Mhm.
like I don't want to say you guarantee yourself a game 7, but you're close. You're right
Yeah.
there and
You would think
anything can
you'd at least
happen
get
in
a
a
game
game 7.
6. Yeah. MPJ, I think, is the one you would need tonight.
Right.
And for as much as he struggled
He played well
past
in
that
game 2.
28-point game against Utah, he really struggled to close that series. And then obviously has been the best this series in 2 games. But what I've really enjoyed is his aggressiveness on the boards.
Yeah.
I'm sure Michael Malone has to continue to remind him that, if it's not dropping, you're valuable in other areas
Right.
and mainly rebounding the ball. He's come up with some really clutch rebounds for this team. And last game, he had 7 rebounds. He had 11 points, shot 50% from the field, like you mentioned, 1 of 5 from three. But I think there's a point where he'll get that game.
Hmm.
He had it against Utah. He had a 28-point game. Obviously, it was a loss. I think he's due for a game like that. Like you said, hopefully the bench happens tonight, and hopefully it's his night that he has that type of game where it's 25, 10 rebounds and something like that. Especially if Jokic is going to be hurt and doesn't play aggressive, or if Jokic is hurt and sits out, whatever the case is. I think you would want that from MPJ. But I've been really impressed. I think for his first playoff run, I think he's handling it well, given the circumstances. And I just hope, and we mentioned too, there's sometimes where you pan to the bench on the camera and his body language isn't the greatest. But to me, when he's in there, it looks like he understands his role. And it's a guy that's not ahead of himself. He knows the talent
Right.
he has, but he's not trying to put himself above the team. Although I think there is areas he could really improve this offseason. I've noticed with him, he takes a lot of contested threes.
Yeah.
Like guys really in his airspace. I think he could get a little bit better at shot creating. There's times where he just settles for open threes. Also, he's got to get tighter handles. It seems like he fumbles the ball a lot, and guys are able to swipe at the ball a little bit. He's very loose with the ball. Maybe that's because his arms are so big and it's a longer
Yeah.
crossover, but he's very loose with the
And he's
ball at
not very
times.
good at catching the ball. We've
Yep.
seen a lot of times where they will lob it up to him, and he cannot get an alley oop. Like, he does not know how to dunk it, like, off of a pass like that. Like, he
Right.
just, I don't know. And maybe it's one of those things where he's so long, like, he doesn't really know how to use his body.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's weird. There's a lot of weird things with him. Like, the
Yeah.
talent is there, but there's a lot of like,
It's
uh,
little things that he could correct to be just
yeah,
like dominant. And I think there's too many times too when he takes it to the basket, he tries to contort himself. I'm like, Michael, you're 6'10". Yam it on somebody. All right, it's gonna happen. You're gonna get those situations where Montrezl Harrell blocks you. Um, but more likely than not, I mean, no one's gonna contest you. You're there. You have that explosion to where you can dunk on somebody. And back to your point about him catching it, I would say too, just him being in shot ready position. His hands aren't always, and that's what a lot of great shooters you'll see, their hands are always ready to
mm-hmm,
catch the ball and shoot. With him, it seems like he has to catch it and he has to go through his motion of bringing it down,
right,
then up. That's a half second or a second that you're allowing the defender to get over to you to close out. If he just keeps his hands at his chest, then he speeds up his motion and then it's there. So that's something too that he probably has to work on in the offseason. But hopefully tonight is the night where we get a great game from MPJ. They're going to need it, obviously, because the Clippers, they're a team that you're not going to hold down for long. They're going to respond. You better believe that Doc's going to get in them. I do think we're going to see a lot more involvement from the others in this game because when Kawhi had the ball and he got in the lane, the Nuggets collapsed. If they're going to do that again, I think Kawhi's going to be ready for that, and they're going to be kicking out to open shooters. Maybe Morris has a better game. I don't know. Hopefully not. But It's gonna be interesting. Predictions for game 3 tonight.
I think the Clippers are going to come out extremely aggressive. Here's the thing though. If the Clippers, they can come out aggressive and they can, they can get physical with the Nuggets, but if they're not shooting well, they're going to struggle.
Mhm.
And that's what really helped them in game 1. Kawhi came out, was shooting the ball really well. Morris hit a couple early threes. Beverly hit a couple early threes. And at that point, it was almost like, oh, crap, right? So if that happens, it's going to be another Clippers blowout. Maybe not a blowout, but I think it's a win. It's more of, I don't think the Nuggets would just go away. I think game 1 was one of those games where they were just so exhausted where once they had lost the lead, it wasn't worth fighting for because they were so tired. I don't think it's necessarily a blowout, but I think maybe probably like a 10, similar to how the Nuggets beat the Clippers last night. I think it's something like that. If the Nuggets do have a run, the Clippers will just, they'll have a couple shots go down, and it's just one of those things. If they come out of the game, though, struggling shooting the ball, that gives the Nuggets a lot of momentum. Because right now they have all the momentum in the world. And if the Clippers come out and if the Nuggets come out and play that defense that they were playing, and the Clippers don't hit shots, all of a sudden, if the Nuggets start hitting shots, it's over. Yeah. So it really is going to come down to the first 5 minutes of this game tonight will tell you how the game is going to go. It's either going to go Clippers by a double-digit win or the Nuggets getting a narrow victory. But it's gonna be one of the two. But yeah, if the Clippers come out struggling, I think two things: if Morris hits a couple shots early on, if Kawhi starts off hot, and if Lou Williams comes off the bench and gets going, those are the three keys early for the first 5 minutes or at least first quarter for the Clippers. They need those three things to happen. If those three things happen, they come out with a win. For the Nuggets, it's the exact opposite. If those guys struggle shooting the ball, then you have a massive advantage. But then you need either Jokic or Jamal to come out strong like they did in game 2. I don't think you need both of them. I think you need one of them. One of them needs to be aggressive, whether it's, and I don't care if it's them getting 15, 20 points or 5 points, but 5 assists. It needs to be something like that, especially Jokic. He needs to come out extremely aggressive. If he doesn't, if Jamal doesn't either, they're in trouble. But at least one of them has to start out aggressive and has to be hitting. So those are, that's kind of the key for each team. I think it's more likely that the Clippers hit shots. So I'm going to take the Clippers tonight. But again, if they struggle early on and the Nuggets take advantage, the Nuggets are winning tonight. But yeah, again, they have a good matchup. I don't know what it is. I really don't. But the Nuggets have a very good matchup against the Clippers. They can defend them, and the Clippers don't have guys who can defend Jokic. So that's the thing. Right. I think for the first time, we've seen a team that can really defend the Clippers because they got length. Jeremy Grant is a great defender on Kawhi. Gary Harris can guard Paul George. Torrey Craig then is a third piece that you can throw on them. And if they have all three of them out there, or if they have Jeremy, Torrey, and Gary out there, when Kawhi, PG, and Lou Williams are out there, they can guard that too. So it's the Nuggets, for whatever reason, they have a very good matchup against Clippers. I think they're a little too young. If they were 2 years older, all of them, MPJ, Jokic, Jamal, if they were 2 years older, they'd win this series in 6.
And that just might be the difference too, is just the youth. I think, championship experience on the other side with Kawhi and Doc, they know how to, and Kawhi's obviously, I mean, if he's not 1A, he's 1B, or, given with Kevin Durant out and all that stuff. I mean, he's still one of the best players in the world right now on both ends of the floor. I agree with you, though. I think regardless, tonight is a Clippers win. I think they're going to come back and respond from game 2. I think they got bullied a little bit, and they want to come out and reestablish that, hey, we're the bigger brother in this series, so we're gonna put our foot down. I think Kawhi is going to be motivated to kind of get back on track a little bit, and I think regardless with Jokic too, if he sits out, that's obviously a loss. If he plays and his wrist is still not 100%, he's going to be passive.
Yeah.
So I think neither of those situations bodes well for the Nuggets. So I think regardless, there's just too many things stacked against the Nuggets tonight. You never know, though, in the bubble. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen, so it could be a win for the Nuggets. But I think I'm leaning more towards the Clippers tonight. So it's gonna be a depressing one if they lose. But you know what? At least I think we can be proud that the Nuggets are at least showing fight. Everybody questioned, this team is soft. They don't have fight. They fought back from down 3-1. They're standing up to the Clippers. I mean, they could have easily folded in game 2 after getting blown out by the Clippers and saying, we don't have it against this team. This team is way better. But again, they always just seem to shock you. They always just seem to come back and say, you know what? No, we don't feel like quitting today. But we'll see how tonight goes. It should be an interesting one. It'll be on TNT tonight, 7 p.m.
This is a big one for the Nuggets. Like, this game can win them the series.
Interesting stat for you. The Nuggets with Jamal and Jokic as the leading tandem, are winless in game 3s in the playoffs that they've been in together.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is a big game.
Portland, Utah, and
you know what's crazy? Every series that they've played in has started 1-1.
Yeah.
And they would lose game 3, and they have gone down 2-1 in every series that they've played.
Did they go down 2-1 to San Antonio? Yeah, I guess they did. Didn't they? This team, man. I don't know.
If that's the step, if they haven't won a game 3, then that means they haven't, because each series has started 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1.
So this is a big. If they want to win the series, they have to win tonight. If they lose tonight, they won't win the series. They might force 6 or 7, but they won't win the series.
I think that Jokic injury is just so significant. It comes at a terrible time for them.
Yeah.
Now
we'll see.
I don't think they would have won the series regardless, but it doesn't help your chances of possibly upsetting a Clippers team.
Right.
So,
yeah. If they win tonight, I'll say this: if they win tonight, they win in 7.
We'll see. ESPN's giving them a 63% chance the Clippers to win tonight. So that's where they're.
Yeah. If they lose tonight, they lose in 6.
It's a minus. Golly, it's a +9 spread tonight.
Ooh, do you take that?
Clippers are -9.
Oh, do the Nuggets lose by 9?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Especially if Jokic sits out, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you gotta wait to see what Jokic does. What happens to Jokic, but I don't know. I feel like tonight could be more of like a 7-8 point game.
I'm seeing, this is completely off subject, but I'm seeing on Twitter now.
Do I bet on that line?
a graphic for those who don't know, in Colorado. So we've had like 90s and 100-degree heat and wildfires. Tomorrow it's supposed to snow. So you're supposed to go from like 90s to snow. And this weather graphic, I don't know where it's from, but it says the title is Fire, Freeze, and Snow. Warnings through Tuesday. There's a bunch of red in certain areas of Colorado, and it says fire. And in the middle it says snow. In the top left it says freeze. So that's where we're at in Colorado. That's 2020 in a nutshell. Where there's not fire, there's snow.
Ooh, I'm seeing this spread at 8.5 now.
Okay. I might take that or the over. I don't know if the Nuggets have it in them to make it a less than 8-point game tonight. I don't think they have it. We'll see though. They've shocked us before. They could possibly do it again. But that's going to do it for us today on the pod. We thank you guys for listening. We apologize for the intro. It was brutal. There's a lot going on there. And to come to find out, too, about midway through, like a little bit in the beginning, I found out it still didn't even record. So that's I have the majority of it. I have about 75%. But yeah, so that's beautiful. So on the podcast, we're going to have to do some fine tuning for you guys to get everything. But that's going to do it for us today on a Monday, out of our element, but we still somehow delivered it to you. For Brandon Stoll on the other side, I'm Stephen Priest Jr. This has been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. Yeah, that's why